Step through the front door of any British home in 1970 and you would find a world that has almost completely disappeared. Coins fed into a meter under the stairs, a pot of tea brewing beside the bed before you had even opened your eyes. Objects every family owned, used daily, and never thought twice about, until they quietly vanished for good. Today we are counting down 20 things every British home had in the 1970s, now gone forever. Let us begin with number 20. Number 20. The soda siphon stood proudly on the sideboard of nearly every aspirational British home, a gleaming symbol of a Saturday night done properly. Families loved the theatre of it, the heavy glass bottle wrapped in its metal mesh, the little bulb of gas screwed into the top, and that satisfying hiss as soda shot into a tumbler of whiskey or a glass of orange squash for the children. By the early 1970s, a siphon and a box of refill bulbs cost only a few shillings, cheaper over time than endlessly buying bottled mixers. Fathers felt like landlords of their own front rooms, holding court over the drinks trolley as guests arrived. Children begged for a squirt of fizz in their lemonade, delighting in the pressurized whoosh. The siphon meant occasion, a small performance that turned an ordinary evening into something grander. Yet cheap bottles of pop and the rise of the supermarket mixer aisle made it redundant. By the 1980s, it had slipped to the back of the cupboard, a curio of a more ceremonial age. Number 19. Green Shield stamps ruled the kitchen drawer of Britain in the 1970s, a currency of patience that turned the weekly shop into a slow-burning treasure hunt. Every purchase at the right garage or grocer's earned little green stamps, which mothers licked and pressed into books, page after page, saving for months towards a toaster, a travel clock, or a set of tumblers from the catalogue. By 1971, thousands of shops handed them out, and filling a book felt like a small victory against the rising cost of everything. Children were handed the sticky task of licking and sticking, tongues stained faintly green by the end of the evening. The full books were guarded like banknotes, stacked in the sideboard until there were enough to redeem at the Green Shield shop in town. The anticipation of choosing a reward was half the pleasure. Yet as supermarkets slashed their prices directly and the stamps lost their shine, the scheme collapsed, reborn briefly as Argos. Today, the little green books survive only in memory drawers, a reminder of a Britain that saved slowly and rewarded the patient. Number 18. The teasmade sat on the bedside table like a small mechanical butler, promising the most civilized start any British morning could offer. Part alarm clock, part kettle, this curious contraption boiled water through the night and, at the appointed hour, gurgled and hissed a fresh pot of tea into a waiting pot beside the bed. By the mid-1970s, a teasmade cost around £10, an extravagance that spoke of modern living and a household doing rather well for itself. Newlyweds received them as wedding presents, and the glowing dial doubled as a comforting nightlight in the dark. The magic was in waking not to a shrill bell, but to the soft bubbling of water and the smell of brewing tea, a cup poured before your feet had touched the cold lino. It was luxury reduced to a single perfect gesture. Yet as cheap electric kettles and the rushed pace of modern mornings took over, the teasmade came to seem fussy and unnecessary. It vanished from bedside tables, its gentle gurgle silenced, remembered as the very height of homely 1970s sophistication. Number 17. Antimacassars and lace doilies dressed the front room of every respectable British home, a defensive layer of frills that guarded the good furniture against the world. The antimacassar was a small cloth draped over the back of each armchair, its odd name a leftover from the Victorian age when men slicked their hair with macassar oil and threatened the upholstery. By the 1970s, the oil was long gone, but the habit remained, mothers laying starched squares over chair backs and arms, with doilies beneath every ornament, vase, and ashtray. Grandmothers crocheted them by the dozen, and no polished sideboard was complete without a lacy circle protecting the wood. They spoke of pride, of a home kept nice for visitors who might notice such things. Children were forever knocking them askew and being told to straighten them at once. Yet as three-piece suites grew cheaper to replace and tastes turned to clean, uncluttered lines, the frills came to feel fusty and old-fashioned. The antimacassar quietly disappeared, folded away with the last of the crochet hooks, a small casualty of a Britain that stopped protecting its furniture from itself. Number 16. Nylon sheets crackled across the beds of 1970s Britain, a miracle of modern living that families swore by even as they cursed them. Sold as drip-dry and no iron, these slippery synthetic sheets promised an end to the endless laundry of cotton, and by the middle of the decade they graced beds in homes up and down the country. In candy pinks, browns, and swirling paisley prints, a set cost a few pounds from the market stall and dried on the line in no time at all. But nylon had its price. On a cold winter night, the sheets built up such static that pulling back the covers in the dark produced tiny blue sparks, and children shrieked with delight at the crackle. In summer, they trapped the heat and left sleepers damp and clammy by morning. Still, mothers loved the convenience, and the bright colors felt thoroughly up to date. Yet as breathable cotton and softer bedding returned to fashion, and the novelty of static shocks wore thin, nylon fell from favor. The crackling sheets vanished from British beds, remembered now with a shudder and a fond, sparking laugh. Number 15. The coin-fed meter lurked under the stairs of countless British homes, a hungry little box that decided whether the lights stayed on. Before direct debits and smart meters, families fed shillings, and after decimalization 50-pence pieces, into a slot to keep the gas and electricity flowing. Running out mid-evening was a household emergency, the television dying, and the room plunged into darkness while someone scrabbled through purses and jam jars for the right coin. During the power cuts and the 3-day week of 1974, that meter felt crueler still, every coin precious as the whole country counted its watts. Mothers kept a special stash of coins on the mantelpiece purely for the meter, never to be spent on anything else. When the man came round to empty it, there was often a small rebate of overpaid coins, a modest windfall that felt like finding money in the street. Yet as billing modernized and prepayment moved to plastic keys and cards, the coin box disappeared. The clunk of a coin dropping and the flicker of returning light became a memory, a small ritual of a Britain that paid for its warmth one coin at a time. Number 14. The draft excluder lay curled against the bottom of every British door, a homemade defender against the bitter winds that whistled through single-glazed homes. Most often shaped like a long sausage dog with button eyes and felt ears, these stuffed fabric tubes were sewn by mothers and grandmothers from scraps of old material, then filled with sand, rice, or torn-up tights. In an age before central heating reached most households, with drafts pouring under every ill-fitting door, the excluder was pure practicality, dressed up as a pet. By the 1970s, with fuel bills climbing and the winters biting, keeping the heat in one room mattered enormously. Children gave them names and dragged them about the house like toys, and every home seemed to have at least one guarding the front door. The making of them was a thrifty craft, a way of using up odds and ends that would otherwise be thrown away. Yet as double glazing, fitted carpets, and proper central heating spread through British homes in the decades that followed, the drafts they fought simply disappeared. The little sausage dogs were retired, cozy relics of a colder, draftier age. Number 13. The Hostess trolley wheeled its way into the dining rooms of upwardly mobile Britain in the 1970s, the proud centerpiece of any dinner party worth remembering. This heated cabinet on casters kept plates warm and dishes piping hot, allowing the lady of the house to prepare everything in advance and glide it grandly to the table without a single trip to the kitchen. By the middle of the decade, a good electric trolley cost a small fortune, and owning one announced that a family had truly arrived. Prawn cocktails chilled on the top while the beef bourguignon stayed warm below, ready for the moment the guests sat down. Hosts loved the theatre of it, the smooth roll across the carpet, the lifting of the lids to reveal the evening's triumph. It was entertaining, made effortless, the very picture of modern hospitality. Yet as dinner parties gave way to casual suppers and takeaways, and kitchens opened out into dining spaces, the trolley lost its purpose. It was banished to the garage or the loft, gathering dust. Today it turns up at car boot sales, a wheeled monument to an era when having people round was a proper occasion. Number 12. The Formica-topped kitchen table stood at the very heart of the 1970s home, the wipe-clean altar around which family life revolved. In bright yellows, patterned boomerangs or speckled grays, its shiny plastic surface was tough, cheerful, and gloriously easy to clean. A swipe of a damp cloth removing jam, gravy, and spilled Ribena in one wipe. By the early 1970s, hardly a kitchen existed without one, often paired with tubular steel chairs and vinyl seats. It was where children did their homework and rolled out pastry, where the week's bills were fretted over, and where endless cups of tea were drunk. The surface bore the marks of daily life, a cigarette burn here, a chip at the corner there, each one a small story. Mothers rolled dough straight onto its cool top, and children pressed their cheeks against it on hot afternoons. It asked nothing but a wipe, and gave decades of loyal service. Yet as fashions turned to solid wood, granite, and reclaimed pine, Formica came to seem cheap and dated. The bright plastic tables were carried to the tip, and with them went the busy, everyday heart of the family kitchen. Number 11. The chip pan bubbled on the hob of nearly every British home, a deep pan of dripping or lard that turned a bag of potatoes into the treat of the week. Friday tea time meant the chip pan came out, the fat heated until a test chip sizzled, and a mound of hand-cut chips lowered in on a wire basket to emerge golden and glorious. By the 1970s, home chips fried in beef dripping were a national institution, cheaper by far than the chippy and just as satisfying, served with a shake of salt and a splash of vinegar. The whole house filled with the smell, and the windows steamed as the family gathered round. Mothers guarded the pan carefully, for a chip pan fire was every household's dread, a moment's distraction that could send flames up the kitchen wall. Yet that very danger sealed its fate. As oven chips arrived in the freezer aisle and the fire brigade begged families to give up the open pan, the chip pan was quietly retired. Deep fat fryers and frozen convenience took its place, and the sizzling ritual of Friday chips slipped out of British kitchens. Number 10. The Candlewick bedspread crowned the beds of 1970s Britain, a heavy, tufted quilt in salmon. Pink, gold, or turquoise that dressed the bedroom for best, made of countless little cotton tufts arranged in raised patterns and swirls. It was warm, weighty, and impossibly familiar to run a small hand across, tracing the ridges as you drifted off to sleep. By the early part of the decade, no proper bedroom was complete without one, folded neatly each morning and smoothed into place. They were built to last, surviving years of washing and countless nights, passed between siblings and sometimes between generations. Grandmothers had them in the spare room kept for visitors, and the very sight of one meant a bed made up with care. Children loved to pick at the loose tufts when they were meant to be sleeping, and the fringe along the edges was forever being straightened. Yet as duvets, or continental quilts as they were first called, swept into British bedrooms late in the decade, the ritual of the made bed with its heavy spread began to fade. The Candlewick was folded away for good, a soft, tufted memory of the bedrooms of childhood. Number 9. The twin-tub washing machine dominated the 1970s kitchen on wash day, a rumbling two-drummed beast that turned laundry into a morning-long ritual. One tub washed the clothes while the other spun them dry, and the housewife stood guard throughout, hauling steaming loads from one side to the other with a pair of wooden tongs. By the middle of the decade, a twin tub was a proud purchase, wheeled out from the wall and connected to the kitchen tap, filling the room with steam and the smell of soap powder. It was hard, hot work, the whole kitchen given over to it for hours, but it beat the mangle and the washboard that had come before. Mothers timed the cycles by instinct, and the rhythmic churn was the soundtrack of Monday mornings up and down the country. Whites went in first, then coloreds, all in the same water to save on heating it. Yet as the fully automatic machine arrived, quietly washing and spinning behind a closed door with no supervision at all, the twin tub's day was done. The sweating, tong-wielding wash day vanished, and with it the last of laundry as physical labor. Number 8. The mangle stood in the scullery or the backyard of many a 1970s home, a pair of heavy rollers turned by hand that squeezed the water from the wash. Even as spin dryers spread, plenty of British households still fed their wet sheets and shirts between its wooden rollers, cranking the handle to wring out every drop before pegging out on the line. By the 1970s, it was already a survivor from an older age, kept going by families who saw no reason to replace a thing that still worked. It took real strength to turn, and mothers warned children sternly to keep their fingers well clear of the rollers, for a caught hand was a genuine danger. Wash day meant the rhythmic squeak of the handle and the splash of grey water into a bucket below. It was thrift and muscle combined, the last hard labor of laundry before the machines took over. Yet as spin dryers and then automatic washers made wringing pointless, the mangle was pushed to the back of the yard to rust. It became a garden ornament, a heavy iron ghost of a harder, more hands-on age. Number 7. The rotary telephone sat enthroned on its own little table in the hall of the 1970s home, the household's single lifeline to the outside world. Heavy, usually in cream, black, or a daring shade of green, it had a dial you spun with your finger and waited for it to whir back before the next digit, so that ringing a friend took real patience. In the days before mobiles, most homes had just the one phone, rented from the post office and shared by everyone, often perched on a purpose-built telephone table with a seat and a slot for the directory. Calls were expensive, so conversations were kept short, and long distance meant watching the clock. The hallway was cold, and no call was ever truly private, with the whole family listening from the next room. Children were forbidden from tying up the line, and taking a message meant a scribbled note left by the phone. Yet as cordless handsets, then mobiles, then smartphones arrived, the tethered telephone in the drafty hall lost all its meaning. The dial fell silent, and the little telephone table became one more curious piece of furniture from a slower age. Number 6. The radiogram held pride of place in the front room of the 1970s home, a great wooden cabinet that was radio, record player, and prized furniture all in one. Long and low, polished to a shine, and standing on splayed legs, it lifted its lid to reveal a turntable and a glowing dial that pulled in stations from across the airwaves. By the early part of the decade, it was the entertainment center of the household. The family gathered round of an evening to play their LPs and singles or to listen to the wireless. A good radiogram cost real money and was treated as an heirloom, dusted and admired, its warm valve sound filling the room. Fathers guarded the volume, Mothers played their favorite records on a Sunday, and children were warned not to scratch the precious vinyl. The top doubled as a shelf for ornaments and the family photographs in their frames. Yet as slim hi-fi separates and portable stereos arrived, the vast wooden cabinet came to seem hopelessly bulky and old-fashioned. The radiogram was carried out to make room, and the front room lost the grand, glowing centerpiece around which so many evenings had turned. Number 5. The glass milk bottle on the doorstep was as much a part of the 1970s British home as the front door itself, delivered fresh each morning by the milkman on his electric float. Families left out the rinsed empties at night, along with a scribbled note for an extra pint or a dozen eggs, and woke to find cold bottles waiting with their foil tops gleaming. By the middle of the decade, nearly every household took daily deliveries, the whine of the milk float and the clink of bottles, a familiar dawn chorus in every street. Children were sent to bring the milk in before the blue tits pecked through the foil to steal the cream from the top, and cold mornings meant the milk sometimes froze and pushed its lid up on a little column of ice. The milkman knew every family on his round and was paid at the door each week. It was a small, reliable rhythm that ordered the start of every day. Yet as supermarkets sold milk cheaply in plastic bottles, the doorstep round dwindled and all but vanished. The clink of glass on the step fell silent, and a daily ritual disappeared. Number 4. The 3-bar electric fire glowed in the living rooms of 1970s Britain, a portable box of heat that families huddled around when the rest of the house was freezing. With its coiled orange bars and often a little rotating drum behind them that mimicked flickering flames, it plugged into the wall and warmed one room while the corridors and bedrooms stayed bitterly cold. In an age before central heating reached most homes, this was how families kept warm, switching on 1 bar, then 2, then all 3 as the evening chilled, each bar costing precious pennies on the meter. Children toasted their legs so close that their shins went blotchy and red, and slippers and socks were dried on the fire guard in front of it. That comforting orange glow was the heart of the winter evening. The family gathered close in a single warm circle. Yet as gas central heating spread through British homes and warmed every room at the flick of a thermostat, the single glowing fire lost its purpose. The 3-bar fire was unplugged and put away in the loft, remembered for its cozy glow and the scorched shins of a colder, huddled-together Britain. Number 3. The larder and the meat safe kept the food of the 1970s home before the fridge conquered every kitchen. Many houses still had a cool, north-facing larder, a walk-in cupboard with a cold stone shelf where milk, butter, and the Sunday joint were kept fresh in days when a refrigerator was still a luxury. For those without even that, a meat safe hung on a shaded outside wall, a small ventilated cupboard with fine wire mesh sides that let the air through while keeping the flies out. By the early part of the decade, the larder was still the beating heart of home storage, its shelves lined with jars, tins, and the week's shopping. Mothers knew exactly which shelf held the cheese, and which the cold meat, and the cool, faintly milky smell of it was the smell of every well-run kitchen. Yet as the fridge freezer became affordable and stood in every home, the cold larder shelf and the meshed meat safe were suddenly redundant. The larders were knocked through for more cupboards, and the meat safe was taken down for good, ending a way of keeping food that vanished within a single generation. Number 2. The open coal fire burned at the very heart of the 1970s British home, the warm, flickering hearth around which family life quite literally gathered. Each morning began with clearing the ash, laying the paper and kindling, and coaxing a fresh fire into life, the coalman having delivered his heavy sacks to the bunker earlier in the week. By the 1970s, though gas and electric heating were spreading, millions of homes still warmed themselves at a real coal fire, the fireguard in front of it, and the brass companion set of poker, tongs, and brush standing proudly to one side. The family drew their chairs close on winter nights, faces lit orange while their backs stayed cold, toasting bread on a long fork and chestnuts on the shovel. It gave far more than heat. It gave a focus, a living, crackling center to the room, and children were mesmerized by the shapes in the flames. Yet as clean air laws, central heating, and the sheer labor of it took hold, the open fire slowly died out across Britain. The hearth was boarded up or fitted with a gas fire, and the flickering heart of the home went cold forever. And finally, in first place, the front room kept for best crowned the 1970s British home, the one room in the house that almost nobody was allowed to use. Behind its closed door lay the family's finest things: the three-piece suite still draped in covers, the good china locked in the display cabinet, the patterned carpet unworn by everyday feet. For most of the year, the room sat cold and pristine, dusted weekly but lived in almost never, reserved for Christmas, for the vicar, or for visitors who mattered. Children were shooed out and told to play elsewhere, forbidden from the good settee with its plastic covers that stuck to bare legs in summer. The best ornaments stood on the mantelpiece, the wedding photographs on the sideboard, everything arranged just so. It was a room of pride and respectability, proof that a family had something worth keeping nice, and to be invited in was an event in itself. Yet as homes opened out into knocked-through, open-plan living, and families chose comfort over ceremony, the shrine to best behavior made no sense at all. The front room was thrown open at last, and with it went one of the most peculiar and beloved rituals of British home life, gone forever. From the fizz of the soda siphon to the hushed shrine of the front room kept for best, these 20 things filled the homes of Britain in the 1970s, and then quietly slipped away. Some vanished with central heating and the fridge freezer, others with double glazing, the supermarket, and the simple march of convenience. Each carried its own small ritual, a way of living a whole generation took entirely for granted. If just one of these stirred a memory, a smell, a sound, a corner of a childhood home, tell me in the comments which one you remember best. Because these things were never just objects. They were home.